Hi, everyone, and welcome to CBM Calling on April 9th. Today, we're not live, but we encourage you to post in the comments any questions, and I'm sure our guests, Bill and Janice from Bolivia, would be happy to reply to some of those, and we will at CBM here as well. Yeah, it's exciting today. We have Bill and Janice Dyck, who serve in Cochabamba, Bolivia as field staff. Hey, Bill and Janice, how are you guys doing?
Hi.
Very good. Surviving.
Yeah, I'm sure. Life is very different in Cochabamba today than probably a month ago. How's your daily routine been impacted by the lockdown?
Well, basically, we are not allowed to leave our apartment more than one morning a week, depending on the last number of our identity card. And so I can go out on Thursday mornings between 7 and 12 in the morning, and Bill can go out on Friday mornings, and the rest of the time we're not supposed to be out on the street.
And are people are checking that, I think? Is that right?
Yes, they have been. Up until the last couple of days, there haven't been as many police at the intersections. It was like every other intersection, there would be somebody checking to make sure that you had the right number. Now, to go into the grocery store, yes, they are still. And this morning, they were also checking temperatures and checking to make sure your card had the right last number to be able to enter. And what they do is they have like a disinfectant foot bath that you put your feet in on this mat that disinfects the bottom of your feet. And they spray your hands with hand sanitizer when you go in the store. Everyone has to be wearing masks. But there's really no physical distancing actually inside the store.
Okay.
It's the same coming into our building, like we're supposed to wear masks in the elevator and use hand sanitizer coming in and step into, a foot bath, to disinfect your feet. So yeah, it's the same coming in and out of the building.
Oh, wow. So you're pretty much in your apartment.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
There's no going out for exercise. There's no place to do any exercise. Yeah.
We don't have a balcony, so if we want fresh
yeah.
air, we open up the window and stick our heads out the window.
Wow.
We've been under some kind of restriction since the 12th of March. The first case was March 10th. The 12th, they started with school cancellations, university classes canceled, all that. And then on the 17th, it went into a medical state of emergency. And so that's when this level of quarantine kicked in. So we've been at it for 3 weeks or something.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Have you heard from your kids? How are they doing here in Canada?
Our kids are doing well, and they're fortunate because all of them are in jobs that are considered essential services, and so they are still working. They're not sick. They haven't gotten sick so far. Our daughter's a nurse. Our son-in-law works at a business that has decided to keep him on while laying off most of the others. Jonathan works in road repair, patrolling main roads in Calgary, and his girlfriend is working in water treatment management. So, yeah. They're doing well so far.
Yeah, everyone's life has been impacted, and I'm sure your ministry has been as well. Looks very different, I'm sure, from your apartment than it would on a normal, what your normal rhythm was.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest frustration someone asked is it's just so hard to do anything. Like we were, we had funds from Pastoring with Pastors that were going to be used for a retreat and to pay for a speaker to come from the States. And so that's all been canceled. So we have those funds that can be used to help pastors. And so together with some of the church leadership, we made up some criteria and selected about 20 pastors from around Bolivia and 10 from here in Cochabamba. And we're going to buy, food hampers, that are about $100, should last, a month, something like that, but to distribute them. And we had to find a connection, through the military or the police, to be able to get those hampers delivered. So that should be happening, today or tomorrow or well, probably happening today. And but yeah, I can't go out. You have to do everything, through WhatsApp, and the other people, even the church leaders, they can't go out. So any kind of meeting we have, it all has to happen, over the internet. And then, even, finding people to do it. So that's the biggest frustration, is just, even if you want to help, you just can't move around.
Yeah, because that's been a focus of your ministry, right? Is the pastoring of pastors and helping disciple them and pastor them and equip them for service. But you say that that's shifted in terms of meeting now some basic needs for pastors.
Yeah, we just used some of those funds for that, because they would have been budgeted, but there would have been no use for the funds to organize a retreat. So we're using some of those funds to, help pastors that are either alone, don't have family, who are seniors, or don't have someone who can go help them. Those are the kinds of criteria that we used to select the people.
Is that something you've seen in Bolivia? Is that pastors are particularly in need with the churches not meeting?
Yeah, there's even one of the pastors in El Alto whom I called. And so I said, how can I pray for you? And he says, pray for my finances. He says it's hard to be without an income for a month. And so obviously he's depending on the weekly offerings for his own personal income. And when the church doesn't meet, he has no income.
And a lot of the pastors would also be, supplementing what they get from the churches with either being a taxi driver or that kind of thing. But nobody, like public transportation has been shut down. You need special permission to be able to drive your vehicle for the last 2-3 weeks. It's been that way.
Well, it's great that you've been able to at least help in a small way with some of those pastors through that relief.
You feel like you're doing something, right?
Yeah.
But I've been calling pastors, and we've been carrying on with our weekly, pastoring of pastors meetings that we would have in our house. That includes, the president of the denomination and other people. And so they look forward to that, and to have that.
Just move those online.
Yeah,
Zoom. And we can even use the breakout rooms to break up smaller groups for prayer, accountability. And so, that's been working.
Oh, that's great. What about the seminary? I know you're very involved there with theological education. How have things shifted at the seminary?
I've been getting more involved in the seminary, but my primary focus has been the pastoring of pastors. But the seminary, they were going to get me to do a lot of the speaking in their chapels. And so I had, it set up, what I would be doing, but that's all been canceled. Although I've had a chance to prepare for some stuff that I'll be doing later on. And the rector actually lives on campus, and 2 of the other staff people also live on campus. And so they've been able to carry on and do some of the work that the seminary would do. The students would work and go to school, work during the day, and maybe take classes at night. And so some of those students have stayed around campus. And so they're also able to, to help those students out. And they've been putting stuff online and encouraging, students to carry on taking classes online, even promoting new classes. So I haven't heard exactly how that's going, how the registrations are coming in for that. But they're certainly, trying to keep going.
Okay. And Janice, I know you have a ministry with vulnerable children teaching music. I'm sure that you're not able to do that right now.
No. When they announced that the schools were closing, also most of the programs for vulnerable children also had to close because they'd be too large a group to get together. And so Emmanuel Foundation is where I was teaching some kids how to play the keyboard. And I know they've kept up with weekly, the moms, because kids aren't allowed out either at all. So anybody under 18 or over 65 cannot be out on the street. And so the moms, on their day that they can be out, will go to the foundation. They will have food packages for them that they can pick up and take back for the week for the kids. A lot of them live in very small rooms. The level of domestic violence here in Bolivia is very high, and I cannot imagine, like some of these kids will be in very vulnerable situations. The foundation staff, they've been able to, stay in contact with the kids, and it sounds like the kids will call quite a lot. They'll call, when they need somebody to talk to, or that kind of thing, or when they need something. So I have not been able to, I came back and started for about maybe 4 weeks, and then everything kind of had to stop. I was supposed to actually tomorrow do a benefit concert. Our church they raise a fair amount of money for like missionaries, Bolivians that are out in other countries serving. And so they'd asked me to do a concert just to raise some money for that. But that, of course, has been postponed. I'm not sure when that will happen.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's interesting. The same theme that keeps coming up in these conversations that I'm hearing is that ministry looks very different. I mean,
Yes.
The reality is it's been our routine, our rhythm, what we're doing, our activities, all have been severely impacted by lockdowns around the world. But ministry continues. I mean, it's exciting to hear that you're still connecting with pastors you're doing it online. You're shifting some of the pastoring and pastors funding to help address the fact that they don't have food. And it's a difficult thing to try to logistically make happen, but you're helping address that. So ministry looks very different, but it continues. And
the first week, it was sort of like catching up on things that I had meant to do, but didn't have time for. Then the second week, it was like a larger project. Like I'd been meaning to do a workshop on Christian involvement in politics. And so I got that done. And then after that, you're like, okay, now I got to do something else. So then it was like organize something to get, food hampers to pastors in need. And this coming week, I'm going to go through the whole list of like 200 pastors, whatever, that are in the UBB. And I'm going to start calling people and just saying, how can I pray for you? And so I've already, started doing that. And they're a little bit surprised. I've never heard from a missionary before. But it starts a conversation, and it kind of carries on, even for a little while with people they could be anywhere in Bolivia. But
So I went out this morning or over my lunch hour to try to get some groceries, and at the local grocery store, I had to wait outside for about 45 minutes before I could get in, all standing 6 feet apart. And got my groceries and tried to put as much in my cart as I possibly could so I wouldn't have to go back. And it was an inconvenience, but that's really all it was. I'm mindful that in Bolivia, many people living in poverty, it's much more than an inconvenience. Have you seen that? Has that been the reality with people that you know and work with?
The interesting thing is it's a leveler, because if you were to come here and shop, it'd be the same. The line, people are distancing, and the line goes all the way around the block. And, just to get into the store, and you only have one morning a week to go shop, and the store's only open in the morning. And so that part's the same. The thing that would be different is that the Bolivian government doesn't have the resources to help like the Canadian government does. So some of the inconveniences, I think we're even more restricted as to where we can go than you are. And so that's more inconvenient. But the help that there is and what's coming, the government here is going to be giving out 1.6 million hampers that are worth $100 to people in need. And so that's significant. But what we hear is that Canada is going to be helping maybe at least that many people with, $2,000 a month.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's still a real disparity, I think, between, what a rich country can do to help its people in a crisis and what a poor country can do, even though at another level, we're all being inconvenienced in the same way.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people here live day to day, and so if they don't work, they don't eat, and there isn't the same level of help for them as there would be in other countries. I know that the government has basically said you can't cut off anybody's water, gas, electricity during this crisis. But what happens after, I don't know. Right. And because people here, those day-to-day workers also were not working for about a month after the elections in October, it's like a double whammy for them because they haven't caught up from the last time that everything got shut down.
Let me ask you this as we move towards the end of the call. Our time's running out. I could sit and listen to you guys for a long time. I love Bolivia and want to hear about it. But where do you see hope? I mean, we're moving into Easter weekend and celebrating the hope that we have in the resurrected Lord Jesus. In the midst of this, where do you see God at work?
People they're pulling together. They're really generous. Like I had my half a day, last week, and Friday I went out and I went to a local kind of construction supply place, and because they had some masks that are, like N95 or whatever. And so I had to buy a couple of those masks, but then he gave me like 50 more. Just said, here, these are top quality. And he was impressed with me being a missionary and, gave me probably 80 masks. And so I passed them on to Tim and Callie because maybe they can use them when they distribute, all of their food hampers. Right. And even a vegetable place, I went and, yeah. I mean, we make a type of borscht, so we can use beet leaves and nobody else can use them. So they gave me a big bag full of, people are really generous in the middle of it. And even in the church, they don't have much. Like when, our president of our denomination is encouraging churches to help people wherever they can, and encouraging integral mission, right, to also be helping people physically. And we know that'll only end up being like a $20 offering that'll come out of the church, but it's not really that amount because in our eyes that isn't very much, and yet just the thought, and it's there at all levels. And yeah, so I think just, that spirit of pulling together, of generosity and people wanting to help and helping as much as they can. And some of it doesn't involve any money. It's just, check up on somebody or offer to pick something up when it's your day to go to the store. Yeah. And
I think too, I don't know, I hope that what comes out of this as well is that the church will realize that church is not just about meeting in a church building.
Amen.
And I know our church has been having prayer meetings 3-4 times a week on Zoom, so everyone can join in. They have their services on Sunday mornings, and it's really almost like being in church because the greetings and the welcoming and the goodbyes at the end of the service are very, very long.
We notice the cultural differences when they do a Zoom meeting. It's like everybody new person that comes on to the Zoom meeting, they're recognized and welcomed and introduced to everyone else. And then once the Zoom meeting's over, it takes a long time before it closes because everybody still has something to say to somebody else who's in the Zoom meeting. And not the way we usually do Zoom meetings.
Yeah. How do you, shake hands with everyone in the room on Zoom.
You just
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of wave at everybody.
And they'll turn their microphones on.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you have many people here in Canada who are supporting you, who care for you, and are praying for you. How can your supporters be praying for you?
I think just continued health. We've been healthy. We haven't had any health issues since this all started, which is great. And just, I think, perseverance and patience in staying inside and not being able to go out. It's easier for me, I think, than it is for Bill, because Bill's an extrovert and I'm an introvert. So praying for, just, and for our families too at home. My mom is in a home in Manitoba that is now in lockdown. So just for continued health and for our kids and in this whole thing too. And for the vulnerable kids here in Bolivia, the moms, the pastors,
Well, be assured that your support network here is praying for you, and this video will be a great way to help us all pray for you in a more informed way. Like I said, I think we are out of time, but always good to connect and hear how God's at work in Bolivia. And I'll do my best Spanish, and it's not very good, but Dios te bendiga.